What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel. Check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to speak on a post I recently came across my timeline, right? And this post right here said, I'm gonna blow it up a little bit. This post right here says that uh, best players in the NBA all Europeans, right? And you know, I think right now, yeah, I guess yeah, they are the best players uh in the league because right now the NBA is not really playing the style of basketball that American basketball players learned how to play and became used to playing, right? And this this style of basketball that Europeans play is really, in my opinion, a boring is a boring style of play, and it's an inferior style of play. When you look at the history of basketball, right, and what basketball had developed into, like over the 100 years that basketball, like it was invented in 1891. It was invented by James Naismith, and so by the time we got into the 1980s, basketball was like it had blew up because it was perfected because you had guys who knew how to coach the game, guys who learned how to play, because it was taught to them and it developed that way, right? So now you got all these European guys in here who cannot play like the style of basketball that was played back in the 80s and the 90s. Like these European basketball players, for them, not all of them, but for the most part, they can, right? And so, like for instance, what's the guy named Nikola Jokic, right? Jokic is a center. Like if you put Jokic with in the game back in the 80s with when you got Karl Malone, you got Dave Robinson, you got, all those guys who played basketball in there, it just wouldn't be the same. It's just too physical. Those guys are a lot more athletic. And so it's not the same game. Then on top of that, and there was no such thing as a like everybody was a two-way basketball player. These guys, these foreign-born basketball players, they don't really play defense. Let me see. Giannis played defense. Giannis is a decent basketball. He's a really good defender, right? Because he's long and lanky. But the Joker don't play defense. Luca don't play defense. What's the guy name? Shea Gilgis. He from Canada. He played kind of. He's a decent defender. I think he's not an exceptional defender. You got what's this guy, Victor Wembanyama. He, like the jury is still out on Victor, right? Victor needs to be able to stay healthy. But like if you had to put Victor like in the 80s, where those guys were a lot more physical, it would be tough for Victor. He can't stay healthy in a league where they're not even playing physical basketball, you know. And the reason why their game is so boring to watch is because they do play that positionless basketball. When you have guys 7 feet tall, 7'5", who want to take you out on a perimeter and shoot threes, when his advantage is his height, it's just it makes people scratch their head like, why are you not? And so what the media try to tell you is, oh, he's well rounded, he's gifted, he can do everything. But he can do everything but take advantage of his size. So back in the 80s, these guys would have had to play to their strength. You can get away with that today. Like you can get away with the Joker playing point center in the NBA today because it's like ain't no more power forwards, ain't no more centers in the league. They did away with those positions. Then at the point guard position, the point guards don't harass, the ball like they used to. Like back in the 80s and then in the 90s, like if the Joker or Luca was dribbling the basketball, or even Giannis, or even what's the other guy, Victor, you had guys like Muggsy Bogues, they'd be taking that and going the other way every time because these guys don't know how to protect the ball. They dribble with the ball out in front of them. They don't use now the Joker do use his hips sometime, right? But for the most part, they don't protect the ball, and the turnovers is crazy. So when when you post something like this and you say, well, okay, this is the European basketball players are the best, in the NBA. That's because the NBA has turned into a European style of play. They took out three of the positions. Like I said, they took out the center, the power forward, and they changed the guard position. Then on top of that, you don't have to play defense in the NBA. So yeah, yeah, anybody can they of course they're gonna flourish and have some success at that. But like I said, even with that, you have to be if you're gonna be a guard, you're gonna have to be a big guard. You because you can't be like you don't see European people like they're sending them a small guard over here, like somebody like who around 6'1" and expect them to compete and be an elite point guard. It just don't happen because they don't have the athleticism is not there. They tried it with Ricky Rubio, and Ricky Rubio that he didn't pan out, so and that's not, me knocking European basketball, but it's just a whole different style of play, right? And the reason why they're allowed to, they brought these guys over here and allowed them to play in the NBA this way is all for money. It's all for money. And I think like if if that's true, right? If basketball is going to be played this way, then at least they should be honest about it and let everybody know that like the NBA has like as we came to know it as it when it peaked in the 80s and in the 90s, that don't exist no more. Like they killed that they killed that so they can sell the game on a more international level, right? So that's why I think that they should not compare eras. Like don't compare these guys to guys like Kareem and Hakeem Olajuwon or Shaquille O'Neal because don't you do is disingenuous. None of these guys are Hakeem Olajuwon. None of these guys are Shaq. Like these guys. sh- I would hate to see like Victor Wembanyama went at 7'5" and look and at frail, he would not be able to do anything with Shaq. Um, the Joker wouldn't be able to do anything with Shaq. Giannis wouldn't be. None of these guys would be able to do anything with Shaq. And Shaq was like one. He was an elite basketball player. But let's just take somebody like a average basketball player, somebody like a Terry Cummings or somebody like what's the guy named Kevin Willis, or Alonzo Mourning. Like these guys, like they was just too physical, right? The NBA was just too physical. And when you go back even further to big men and centers and stuff, you go to like Bob Lanier, Gus Johnson, and those guys just Artis Gilmore. This game just was, those guys, it was just a different game. It's just a different game. And so I think at least the NBA should acknowledge that it's a different game. You should have like a cutoff point, right? Like once Tim Duncan left the league, um, and you had who like Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant left, then this the European basketball players, okay, cool. This is a whole nother era of basketball, a whole different style of basketball. This is like more like I said, a European style. Then acknowledge that. But don't compare these guys to guys who played in the like Shaq, Tim Duncan. Just I think they should just start from fresh, start new, and just call, this not that NBA, this not the same NBA as those guys what they played in. And so they trying to promote it as that. They trying to like they coming up with all these stats and all this other stuff. But these guys, man, and I'm not saying that they couldn't have played in the 80s or when Shaq and them played, but their role would look totally different. Just the way they play, you know, um, it just would be so much different. It, they wouldn't have the type of success that they having now because it was just so much more physical and man, in my opinion, more competitive. These guys, most of these guys don't even play defense. They're not even two-way basketball players, So yeah, yeah. I think the European it's just smoke and mirrors. It's a whole different game. I just think that people should acknowledge that and let it be known that it's just different. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.